Hello, Narnach here. Welcome back to Diablo 3 Reaper of Souls Season 4. A couple of days ago I posted a video with a leveling build for Hardcore Witch Doctor. I've since reached level 70 with that Hardcore Witch Doctor and even done some Paragon leveling. And I'm playing very comfortably on Torment 1 at the moment. So I figured I'd give you an update on the builds, because I made a couple of different skill choices and looking forward towards a number of set items. And of course the Season 4 offhand. Isn't it cute? This little kitty. Isn't it cute? It's also a ridiculously good offhand. I mean, that's the reason I gave up a two-hander to equip that thing. So it's that good. Might eventually put it in an ice cube. But yeah. Okay, so skills. I have creeping death. So in my earlier video, I thought originally this was part of a set item, a set bonus, but it's actually just a passive that you unlock pretty late. I think it was level 55. I think it was level 55. So it's later on in the game. It's very useful, because your standard gameplay will be to just cast the locust, then tap everything with Haunt, and once your Haunts kill things, they just move over and they just keep going until you murder everything that's within a screen of you. So this is a very useful passive. Zombie handler still in. It's the 20% life bonus and the extra pet. It's just very good. Fetish Sycophants, they are back in. For a while they were out. I think for a while I took them out in favor of, where is that thing? Fierce Loyaler, just to get the movement speed. Movement speed is very nice when leveling up. But I figured the 15 extra bodies gave me a little bit more security. So that's why they are back. And Midnight Feast, 50% extra damage from pets. That's hard to pass up on. Well, it's only zombie dogs and gargantuans, but it's hard to pass up. Haunt, it's still here, it's primary skill.
Did not mention what a warrior can be.
Picked the poison spirit rune. Enemies take 20% more damage. Because this spreads like wildfire, all enemies take 20% extra damage, and this causes every other damage source to become more efficient. So this is just a very nice catalyst. If your build is not as tanky as you would like, Consuming Spirit is still a very good second choice. It's I just chose to go slightly more offensive with this guy or with this gal. So that's why the poison spirit is in. Locust Swarm. So this one is also one of the skills that is made effectively infinite in duration. And I chose to go with the Cloud of Insects, because enemies deal 25% reduced damage. This is the thing that gives the build a safety. Oh, it's one of the builds that gives it safety. You could go with Searing Locust for more damage, but I went for protection instead. Wall of Death. This is, once again, it's one of the later runes, Communing with Spirits. Turns damage into cold, chills enemies and reduces their damage by 25%. Once again, this is a very safe choice. And it's, I actually discovered this later. This is a 8-second cooldown, no mana, 28 yards AoE. That does just a ridiculous amount of damage. If you have a look at Grasp of the Dead, it's 8 seconds cooldown, that's the same. But it costs 150 mana. And for this build, that 150 mana was the thing that made me run out of mana all the time. Okay, this does have the cold damage and the slowing built in. And if you go with Grasp of the Dead, you do slightly more damage, because you do 1360 damage rather than 1200. So that's 160% extra weapon damage. And you still have the slowdown. Let's see, what was it? Oh. But the Wall of Death is just it's a more efficient skill once you unlock it later on, because this rune is level 51, if I remember correctly. Spirit Walk, still there. You need to escape from bad situations. Summon zombie dogs, chill to the bone. It's still very, very, very good. It's a form of crowd control. Chill to enemies, move slower. That means they get to you slower as well. And your pets have more time to catch up and kill them. Let's see, Leeching Beasts is also a very solid choice if you have the life on hits, which you should, because it's useful. So Leeching Beasts is a very, very nice one. Lifelink is also decent. It's effectively you get 10% extra damage, 10% extra life. Gargantuan. I went with the last one. It gains the ability to stun enemies every once in a while, which is very, very, very useful when you are fighting elites and you have whittled down the pack and you're fighting the elite, or if you're running rifts and doing the rift boss. It's just very, very useful. And a couple of gear things that make this build useful. First up, let's have a look at the Knife Cube. Short Man's Finger. Gargantuan summons 3 smaller Gargantuans instead of 1. So that's those 3 guys. In combination with the rune I picked for them, that means you have 3 independent Gargantuans that can stun enemies for 3 seconds. That is very, very powerful. So that's why this is useful. I had it as my right hand ring first, but I found one with better base stats and I didn't have anything in here yet. So, I mean, this is a season I only just started. St. Andrew's Gauge. Once again, I first found it as a glove. It's now in. This is an absolute lifesaver. Every time you encounter an elite pack. No, actually, when they damage you, you get an absorption shield for 150% of your max life. This makes you so freaking tanky. I can't even describe it. It's just so good. It's hard to find other items that are better than St. Andrew's Gauge, I think. And I'm still looking for something decent for my main slot. Though Henry's Perquisition, the kitty, it's a very, very good choice. But it's a pretty solid item as itself. So Henry's Perquisition. First time an enemy deals damage to you, reduce that damage by 69% up to 80%, and charm the enemy for 3 seconds. So with this, you just waltz into a group of enemies, and you put down a wall of death around you. You breathe out a locust swarm and you start casting Haunt. And for the most part, you can just ignore the enemies trying to attack you. Because you stand there, attacking them, putting down Wall of Death, reducing their damage by 25%, affecting them with Locust Swarm, reducing them by another 25%. So they only deal half the damage to you. Then everyone who tries to hit you, that damage is also reduced. In my case by almost 70%, but it can be up to 80%. So you barely take any damage, and then they are charmed for 3 seconds, distracting all the other enemies and just generally creating a lot of bodies to protect you. So base squad will be 5 dogs and 3 gargantuans. That's 8 pets running around. Fetish Sycophants up to 15 pets as well. So that's you can have a cadre of 23 pets following you. And then anytime anything hits you, they become a temporary pet as well for 3 seconds, further distracting the enemy. So one of the core parts of this build is safety in numbers. You are not the only one that they can attack, therefore you don't take as much damage. Is there anything useful? Ah yeah, Jade Harvester. Jade Harvester. I'm still working to get the second part of the set. Because the 2-part set bonus is when Haunt lands on an enemy already affected by Haunt, it instantly deals 10 seconds worth of Haunt damage. This is the thing that's going to make Haunt shine even more. It's already doing ridiculous damage, but this is just going to make it even more ridiculous. So very, very, very nice. And the Helltooth set, it's also very powerful. And this there's a bunch of skills, and when they hit an enemy, that enemy is affected by necrosis, which slows it, and it deals 1500% weapon damage every second. And the enemy takes 20% increased damage from all sources, and this lasts for 10 whole seconds. So that's 150% weapon damage that gets dealt to the enemy, and they take 20% extra damage from all sources, so that's also self-buffing. So the first tick is 1500%, and after that it's going to be 1800% because of the self-buff of damage. So this is ridiculously powerful, and that's only for 2 parts. And the skills that are affected relevant for this build are the zombie dogs and the Gargantuan, and the wall of death. So basically every time you enter into wall again, you cast the wall of death, and it's freaking huge. So, and if you're standing nicely in the middle of it, if enemies want to come to you, they get affected by necrosis, so they take more damage from everything. You can just breathe some locusts at them, and then you start casting your haunts at them, while your pets are doing damage and going outside of the circle, infecting other things. So, Jade Harvester, at least 2 parts to make Haunt excellent. Personal opinion, I don't like Soul Harvest. I think the mechanic is too fiddly, and I'd rather not get too close. And I don't have any space left on my skill bar. So Jade Harvester is just going to be a 2-parter for me. Then the Helltooth Mask, I might look to finishing it, to completing it. Because the 4th part, you take 50% reduced damage for 10 seconds when you apply necrosis. So that's basically all the time. So that's yet another thing that makes your EHP go through the roof. And the 6-parter, after casting Wall of Death, which is my primary crowd control skill, gain 900% increased damage for 15 seconds to your primary skills, which I don't use. But it also affects Zombie Dogs, Gargantuan, and Wall of Death. So that most of the skills are benefiting from this. So this is it's a very nice set, and for the rest there's not really a lot. I mean, this is just Ulburas, just a basic stat amulet. But I got some socketed items. So Reef of Lightning, it's freaking hilarious. It triggers pretty often because you're casting Haunt all the time, and especially now that I switched to a one-hander, I'm casting more often. I mean, 1.5 attacks per second rather than 1 attack per second. So things that trigger, this one triggers more often, and this basically turns you into a mini conduit, which does a lot of damage. And since you tend to be in the middle of things, where because of the whole Wall of Death and Locust Swarm thing, this just stacks insanely. Banes are powerful. Every time you kill an elite, you get some bonuses. It's okay. Might wanna go for the one that grants you regeneration, but you can't pick early on. And I was lucky enough to find a Boon of the Horror. So again, so far Reef of Lightning is the only actually actively useful skill or actively useful gem. The other sockets are still very much up for grabs. So yeah, in terms of itemization, that's it. So let's actually quickly run a Rift. Let's run a Great Rift this time. So I've been playing around on Torment. I think I cleared Torment 10. So let's pick Torment 11. Not quite sure where 12 is up there. Maybe from a previous season or something.
Are you ready? Then you'll
okay.
try.
So this is the mini conduit effect I was speaking of. It's just very, very powerful. It affects a lot of enemies. A lot of things going on. Keep Wall of Death up.
Need more money.
Breathe out Locust every once in a while. Don't forget to pick up the bonuses. There. Jumping points.
Needs more time.
So, Wall of Death, Locusts, And the locust will just start jumping from enemy to enemy. And things more or less melt. And this was a dead end room. Of course this was a dead end room. It's a great rift. Why wouldn't it have a dead end room? But we're still making good time. Already got the time top. There's something up there. What's up there? Okay, and they are charmed because they deal damage. So the charming is actually really useful for ranged enemies. Because they hit you, they charm, and they start backstabbing their buddies. Power pylon, 4 times the damage. Guarantees things will just melt even faster.
Not ready.
Okay. And if you look at my health bar, it's hardly moving.
A perfect strike. I need mana.
Yellow. So I went a bit overboard with the Locust Swarm, which is why my mana got depleted. In this one, it soaks up 300 mana per cast. I got 870. So that's almost 3 casts that are in the mana bubble. And this is with an offhand that grants me extra mana regen. My mana does recover recently. But there is a lot of value in mana regen for this build, just so you can keep your build a bit more stable. So boosting your max mana a little bit, boosting your mana regen a little bit, those are very useful things in it. If I'm looking at how fast I'm progressing here, I probably could have taken that grade 12 easily with this one. Well, as I said, I completed, I've been playing on just basic Torment 1. I'm just now getting to the point where I'm very comfortable on it.
I strike at your heart.
Probably gonna move over to Torment 2 soonish. But this is hardcore. You don't want to rush into higher difficulties too quickly. Better to run around a little longer on the lower difficulty than getting killed on one difficulty that's slightly too high for you. So yeah, this is it's still an insanely fun build, and it's just very sturdy build due to all the things that I managed to stack on it. Run away from the locusts, why don't you? This lightning is just insane. It's so powerful. So once you get the Torment and you are comfortable running Torment, you should start finding legendaries and set items on a more or less regular basis, and just keep running the bounties and spice them up with rifts and greater rifts every once in a while. And with greater rifts as well, if you're very comfortable playing on master, start on, what is it, level 7 or 8, the one that's mimicking the master difficulty. Start at that, and if you get a good clear time, no more than 5 minutes remaining, then up it by 1 point. And then just keep upping the difficulty by just a single point until you have less than 5 minutes remaining, and that's the point where you probably want to hang around a little bit on that difficulty and just farm a little bit more, run a couple more bounties, find a couple more items, maybe craft a nice yellow item if you still have some of those. And if you look at my gear, now there's still a couple of slots with yellow items, not a lot. I've been lucky with just random drops. Actually finding the legendaries for those last 3 set of those last 3 item sockets is going to be the final challenge for this season. And I get my new season pets. But, just leveling up a character, you do go through the whole season journey, but that's in a logical flow. So they did it in a very nice way. There was a boss in there somewhere. Yeah, over there. Oh, here. Just stand in here. And I just got so much shield from the St. Andrew's gauge. It's very, very useful. Now, if you find a St. Andrew's gauge on a low level, basically goes for every legendary, but especially for that one, hang on to it. And the moment you get a Kanai's cube, put a St. Andrew's gauge in as soon as possible. It's just that important for survivability.
The spirits aid me.
The Henry's perquisition. I found it in the vault. I'm not quite sure if that's special or if I was just lucky to find it there. Probably just lucky to find it there. But yeah, so I suppose that gambling with Gdala for offense is also a pretty decent way to get it.
Strike is true. Need more mana.
My shield is just so insanely high, combined with all the damage reduction on the enemies. In most battles, the shield doesn't disappear, and my life regen doesn't actually need to kick in. That's still life regen, intelligence, vitality. Those are still the stats that I've been stacking for most of the gear. A little bit of crit damage. But the crit is mostly accidental bonuses that just came with the good items I found. And diamonds everywhere. Resist all is very, very powerful.
The Rift Guardian has found.
Hey, good indeed. No, let's see. But this is not an elite. Ah, yeah, it is. Just needed to damage me. And look at him just melting. There. So it takes out a bit of damage, but it's not that much. And that was a rift. Let's see, what did we get? Steady strikers, that's just plain vanilla damage bonus. But that poison skill damage, that's very nice. Gonna lose some recovery, gain a lot of toughness and damage. So that's a win. And I'm probably gonna craft the attack speed out and put some regeneration in, just to make this build more sturdy. Because I need my regeneration. And what was the invigorating gemstone? Ah, well, under control impairing effects reduce all damage taken by 30%. This is pretty solid if you get hit by control impairing effects a lot. Usually that's the time when you're most vulnerable, so this is potentially a lifesaver. But it's the Wreath of Lightning that's the meat and potatoes of this build right now. Let's see if we can boost it multiple times in a row. Oh yeah. So it does even more damage now. Oh, that's the wrong button. Let's spend Paragon points. So once you get Paragon points, I'm boosting intelligence right now. Just to get more damage out, passively add some resistance, so it adds a little bit of survivability, but it's mostly for the damage. Crit hit chance, because there's not a lot of things that rely on cooldown reduction, and 5 points for a single percentage. Yeah, that's not gonna affect Wall of Death with 8 seconds. I mean, 8 seconds, getting a single second off, that is gonna be 12% reduction. You're never gonna get that with a couple of points, so it's just not worth it for the cooldown reduction. Defenses, life per second, because it's very useful. Utility life on hit once again because it's useful. It helps you keep alive, stay alive.
I am returning to town.
So that's it for this build. It's this is for me it's a pretty logical progression of the build I outlined before. Ta-da! Level 11 completed. So next up will be 12. So this is a logical progression of the build that I was leveling up with, owing to some of the items. I mean, this is a very safe option. St. Andrew's Gauge adds a lot of safety. Things like this. This is just a legendary. It's better than a yellow, so that's why it's in. Jade Harvester. I only need 2 parts.
Tyrael,
For
it's
the
been
rest,
interesting for me to see all of these places.
there's
where
not a
you
lot
and
of gear
Nephi
dependence in
were
here yet, so I like
Heard
that.
so much
The
about
gear
your
just
adventure
amplifies
from
my
Communing
safety
I
rather
almost
than
feel like I was there.
dictating the build.
Trying time.
It just makes it a lot more efficient. So yeah, that's it for now. I might post another update. I don't know, on Paragon 100 or something, and I got some decent sets down, and most of the slots are filled with items that are actually useful to show something you could potentially progress into. But we'll see if I ever make it that far. This is hardcore after all, and you shouldn't jinx things. So with that said, I thank you very much for watching, and I hope to be alive long enough with this character to see you next time. Bye bye.